families to get by.
Gallego's one of the most far-left people in Congress. He's voted with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris 100% of the time.
Even worse, Gallego is an open borders Democrat who voted to allow illegal immigrants to vote in our elections. Radical Ruben Gallego is just too far left for Arizona. Kari Lake is running for U.S. Senate to be a voice for all Arizonans. She's endorsed by both President Donald Trump and Governor Doug Ducey.
With Kari fighting for Arizona in the Senate, we will make America great again.
Kari Lake will fight to lower costs for Arizona's families, eliminate taxes on tips and Social Security, and will secure our southern border. The choice is clear. Vote Kari Lake for Senate.
I'm Kari Lake, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Kari Lake for Senate.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZzzQuil.
ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZzzQuil nights. Explore our products at ZzzQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
In most countries of the world, Forte means door. United Forte Custom Doors, located in the Scottsdale Airport Design District, is now open with over 40,000 European doors, all in stock, ready for delivery, and at wholesale prices. Designers, contractors, builders, and yes, you. Come see our showroom on Greenway Hayden Loop. That's United Forte, Porte. Stop by to see and feel the quality at United Forte Custom Doors. Find us at uporte.com. That's uporte.com.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
And it is Thursday, which means, well, you know what it means. It's a football Thursday, the start of the new NFL week. You're listening to Beat the Book. I'm Keon Rose. Alongside me is our betting expert, Dylan Cohen. We are broadcasting live from the Harmon Solar Studios in sunny uptown Scottsdale. And we've got a lot to get to on the show today. A lot of basketball to recap because those picks that were put out yesterday, a lot of NBA involved, and there was some really good hits there. So we'll talk about that. We'll get to a little bit of how you could maybe find a betting edge because Baker Mayfield popped a zin on a sideline. We'll get into it. There's a lot of stuff to get to, and I'm just holding up the show. So let me stop doing that. You are on the Fanatic text line at 888-368-1580. I mean, not immediately. The computer's doing a thing, but we'll get there in just a second. And of course, before we get to you on the text line and before we get to a lot of these sports stories that we're going to talk about today and some of the picks that we've got for you later on, Dylan, who powers the show?
Sport Trade powers this show. And if you have not already, make sure that you download Sport Trade, get your account set up. They have the best live betting experience right now among all of the sports betting apps out there. So you can use promo code 1580 to take advantage of their 10% cashback promotion on new account signups. And definitely do not miss out on Beat the Book tomorrow because Sport Trade CEO Alex Kane will be back on the show. And Sport Trade's been doing this little weekly giveaway here where you, the listener, have an opportunity to potentially win a $100 Amazon gift card along with $50 in credit to Sport Trade to bet with. So this is a ongoing contest that they've been running, and it is always going to be on the upcoming Cardinals game and trying to guess where their implied win probability is going to be at halftime of the game. And, for this game this week, Cardinals are in kind of a weird spot because it's a morning game in Miami. You're taking on the Dolphins. Dolphins get Tua back, and there's a lot of excitement on the Dolphins side because they've been without Tua for so long. And then Tua gets, what seems like on paper a very good opportunity against a team with a secondary that is not guarding the passing game pretty well so far.
Yeah, and this especially against some of these top wide receivers, the Cardinals have looked especially bad. And Tyreek Hill, who I imagine is chomping at the bit for anybody to throw him a pass that goes further than 20 yards. I think that he'll be ready to go for that game. So I don't know if this is the game where the Cardinals can maybe take advantage of a Tua Tagovailoa who's just trying to get back in the rhythm of everything, or if this is a Dolphins team that can take advantage of a Cardinals defense that's, well, underperforming.
So I mean, there's a number of different ways that I can see this game playing out. We're going to get into those with Alex when he's on the air with us tomorrow, so do not miss out on that. And if you happen to catch this show yesterday, yesterday was the bigger debut for the NBA season that just tipped off this week. There were 10 games on the slate. Our very own Phoenix Suns got to play in a very exciting matchup. We're going to get into some of that, but I just wanted to touch base on the Milwaukee Bucks and Philadelphia 76ers game. That was the first one that was on ESPN last night, and we did have some guidance on how you should be betting that game. And for the most part, the things that we were thinking there panned out. Biggest one was just simply that the Bucks won the game by pretty good margin. Final score there was 124 to 109. The spread was favoring the Bucks, but it only had them as 3.5-point favorites. And that just flat out did not make sense when you were going to have no Joel Embiid or no Paul George, and you were going to leave Tyrese Maxey on an island to try and hold the fort down all on his own.
He tried really hard, but like that's just a lot of points and a lot of players to try and outscore, not by yourself. I wouldn't say that he was alone necessarily, but the entire middle of that defense, there wasn't anybody there. And Giannis was able to pretty much get whatever he wanted down there.
I meant to look at this before, but this is the exact kind of like a one-off scenario where you will see a stat line like this. Tyrese Maxey had 25 points last night off 31 shots. So
that is a 2001 era stat line. that is Allen Iverson when he's a 76er alone as far as the scoring responsibilities go. That's what that stat line reminds me of. It came out in 1999.
Like just to see someone take more than 30 shots in a game, like Luka doesn't even get that.
Yeah, it doesn't happen anymore. Because at that point, because nobody wants to be the inefficient player in the NBA anymore. Like you take good shots. You take shots where the shooting percentage winds up being really high because the efficiency numbers, whether anybody likes it or not, that stuff factors into MVP and some of all these other awards as well. So like nobody wants to be the guy that takes 30 shots to score 25 points. It looks bad, but like there's nothing else Maxey could have done. He had to take all those shots.
It was just the role that was given to him at that point. So he did the best he could. Sixers were just not really able to stay in the game. Giannis Antetokounmpo finishes with 25 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists, and as far as field goals go, he made 8 shots out of 11. So really efficient night from Giannis. The only thing that kept him back from getting the 30 points was just simply not getting to take enough shots to get there. And a big part of that was because his teammate Damian Lillard showed up. He looked like Portland logo Lillard. He had 30 points, shot 6 from 12 from 3-point range. So, if they're getting that kind of juice from Damian Lillard, this Bucks team is
that's a scary team. I mean, it was before, but it kind of seemed like the game had passed Damian Lillard by a little bit. Like he was still going to be great, obviously, kind of like where Steph is now, where it's like the best shooting days are behind you, but there's still plenty of good shooting. But maybe it's not true for Dame Lillard. Like maybe there is still some Portland Dame Lillard left. Because if there is, that right now to me, that looks like my favorite in the East, if that's what we're getting.
It's definitely a team that I'm very big on. They are my dark horse in the Eastern Conference, and they didn't even have Chris Middleton last night. That's their number 3. So, we don't know what this team even looks like yet. With their best starting 5 on the floor, this is going to be something to keep an eye on throughout the season. And Giannis making a pretty good start for a potential MVP case as well. But the more important game for anyone listening here, it was our Phoenix Suns, and they did manage to walk away from the Intuit Dome debut yesterday. That is the brand new state-of-the-art stadium that Clippers owner Steve Ballmer built and funded all on his own.
Yeah, no taxpayer dollars. It looks good too. That arena looks awesome.
The word that comes to mind for me is like revolutionary. Like he is going to kick off an arms race, so to speak, of NBA owners and arenas and owners that take pride in their arenas. And, there's going to be some kind of a pattern of, I want to one up you. I'm going to add this to my arena. I want to one up that. I'm going to do this with my arena. And in the case of Steve Ballmer, there were a couple of things that stood out with the Intuit Dome. They've got this massive thing. They call it the Halo board. It's basically just like a giant wall screen that is in the shape of a halo. It's right above all the seats. And from any seat in that arena, wherever you sit, you have a perfect angle to view the screen in the halo. And then they do a lot of interactive stuff, like literal games that you can play from your seat on it, to showing people stats, to, motivating the crowd to get loud. So like on the one hand, the technology integration is really cool, but the more impactful thing, and I mean, we know this is impactful. We saw it, and players are even speaking about it today, is this thing that they have that's called the wall. And the wall is a section of the Intuit Dome that is purposefully constructed at an angle that visually to the players on the court makes it appear almost kind of more like in your face. Like it's slanted at an angle that is different from most other seating sections and other arenas. And then it's packed with seats. I mean, they cramp as many seats as they can possibly get in here. The idea is to turn it into a student section, so to speak. And I think Ballmer just hit the nail on the head with this one. You have to be a loyal Clippers fan to get tickets to be in this section on the wall. And you are expected to be on your feet predominantly, cheering really loud. And then where it comes into play is the free throw shooting. And in this game last night, the Suns' second half, the basket that they were shooting on, it was facing the wall. And this was a game where the Suns did take control fairly early. They were up 14 points in the second quarter. But then the second half started to get away from them. And the fact that they had to shoot against this wall that was in front of them in crunch time, I mean, it was giving the Clippers an edge. It helped them get back in the game.
Yeah, and that's what a good arena is supposed to do anyway, like provide some kind of advantage that you can't get anywhere else. And like it's interesting how players are trying to figure out like what is the way to deal with my perspective essentially being changed, because we've seen it happen all the time. If you've ever watched an NCAA tournament where they've been doing the tournament in basketball stadiums, and then suddenly the championship game or that Final Four is in Dallas, where the Cowboys play. And all of a sudden, great shooters just can't seem to make shots. Like their perspective has changed, and it is messing with them to a degree. Like this is really cool for the Clippers. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm very fascinated by how other teams are going to go in there and try to compete. And of course, you get a little extra juice from the crowd because it's the first time in that new building. I can't remember the last time the Clipper fans had something that they could be proud of that did not involve the Lakers. You shared a building with them forever. They've got all their championship banners all over all your stuff. Like this just kind of was a good night for the Clippers, even without the wall, even without the other, the Halo display and all of that. This was just a big night for that team. And you could tell the players got up for it too.
So the Clippers, they were without Kawhi Leonard yesterday. So their starting lineup consisted of Derrick Jones Jr., Ivica Zubac, James Harden, Terrence Mann, and Norman Powell. And my expectation in this one was that we weren't going to see a whole lot of defense out of the Clippers. And it should have been a game where the Suns could get a good lead, early, and then hopefully hold it throughout the rest of the game. And that's how it started to look up front. And then, as I mentioned, the game just got away from them in the second half. So by halftime, the Suns had limited the Clippers to only 39 points. And then in the third quarter, they allowed 35 points. So it made things tough. And in the fourth quarter, the Suns found themselves down and needing to rally back. And Kevin Durant certainly helped get the job done. He finished with 25 points and 7 rebounds. Devin Booker goes for 15 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds. And Booker actually ended up fouling out in crunch time in the fourth quarter. But guess what, Suns fans? We've got a really dynamic big three. And, if we don't have Devin Booker, well, guess what? Bradley Beal is right there ready to go. And last night he came through to the tune of 24 points and 4 of 6 from 3-point range. So huge contribution there. The pick that I was very big on yesterday in this game, it was for Tyus Jones to get the over on his assists. And this was something I shouted out on my 6-Point Play podcast. It was really odd what was happening to the pricing of that prop just before game time. For most of the day leading up to the game, that was priced at around plus 120. So decent payout, nothing crazy. And in the hour before game time, I don't know if it was big money coming in on his under or some kind of news that the books caught wind of. I couldn't find anything online, but the odds on this just started shooting up and his line got lowered to 5.5 assists. If you took him for 8+ assists right before game time, it was paying 3-1 odds, plus 300. And Tyus Jones came in and he looked like that missing piece to the puzzle that was not there last year and was a big reason why we were not winning games like this last year. If we got into the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter and we didn't have the lead, or if we did have the lead and then we lost it, a large percentage of the time we were not walking away with the win. And in this case, it took a lot to, bring us back into it. I think we were down at one point, like 8 or 9 points with like a few minutes left. So kudos to the Suns for rallying. They forced overtime. They got the job done in overtime. And that was just a really good win to get the season started. But there's definitely some things to work on here, some area of improvement for the Suns. They're going to figure this thing out with Tyus Jones. It's just going to take some more time. I think there's going to be many double-digit assist games for him on the horizon. But for now, there's still a feeling out period of just trying to see what's the best way to make this offense work. Yusuf Nurkic, there's definitely something to address there.
Yeah, because the Suns had a bunch of turnovers and it felt like he was involved in every single one of them. That can't possibly be true, but just like the eye test, it just looked like every turnover is just like, man, are you even looking where you're throwing the basketball at this point? What is going on with you?
Like just gunning the ball like out of bounds, like blatantly, and there's no real defender there. And then he's just like, oh, my bad.
You're bad. Stop doing that.
So Nurkic finished with 22 minutes. He had 11 points, 9 rebounds. So, one of the picks I did post yesterday was for Nurkic to get the over on his rebounds. That did not hit. But the Suns need to figure out a way to be able to use him on the court, but be able to keep him on the court, because there is this trend of him turning into a bit of a defensive liability. And then once other teams figure out how to exploit him, you really can't keep him on the floor. That's when, we turn to Oso Ighodaro or Mason Plumlee. And Plumlee, actually, to his credit,
I thought there were times where Plumlee was out there, they looked better than when they had Nurkic.
Plumlee had 8 points, 2 for 2 field goals, 4 of 6 free throw shooting. I like the blend of Plumlee backing up Nurkic compared to, what we had before with Drew Eubanks coming in. I mean, they're two different kinds of big men.
But I just feel like Plumlee is just a bit more of a competent defender. Like he just moves his feet a little bit better. They did throw a couple of lobs behind him where he was just kind of asleep at the wheel, but for the most part, he did a pretty good job of manning the paint, keeping people out of the paint, not letting easy buckets by. And like Eubanks just had problems last year. Like he just couldn't stay in front of anybody. And sometimes if he got too far away from the basket, his help defense was just useless, just not good for anything. So like that, like seeing Plumlee be able to slide back in front of the basket and contest shots, I was happy to see that.
So I think there's a lot to be excited about with the Suns. And one other thing I just wanted to point out too, that FanDuel boost yesterday, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant to lead the game in scoring. I tried to warn you. That was
somebody sent in that text and said, "Hey, should I do that?" I hope that you listened. Can't seem to pull up the text line right now, so I don't know. I can't call you on it, but I hope you listened. That there was a good chance. I believe your exact words were that there's just going to be some version of Houston Rockets James Harden that could show up and ruin that entire thing. And that's essentially what happens.
So James Harden yesterday got, oh, by the way, so Tyrese Maxey 31 shots. James Harden got 28 yesterday.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are just weird, like one-off circumstances that you're not going to see all season long. But James Harden, 28 shot attempts, 29 points.
We might see the Maxey 31
That's actually true.
just out of if they bench Embiid and George again. What else is Tyrese Maxey supposed to do? Just lose? Like, he's got to shoot the basketball, and you may end up having one of those nights where it's just an amazing, like 40, 45 point Tyrese Maxey performance. But if he has an average night or a decent night shooting the basketball, those aren't all going to work in his favor.
Well, and we know Joel Embiid is missing the next 2 games this week, as the Sixers like to be very forward about this stuff, which is landing them in hot water. So we will we'll have to see if these kinds of things play out again. It may be a betting angle that we can look to leverage. So Keon, I know we're up against a break here. There's one more thing that we'll get into after this break. Just want to touch base on some news about LeBron and Bronny and some feedback that just came out recently from a couple of the bigger sports books out there.
Yeah, because we have some stuff to talk about. There are people who are placing player props on Bronny James. It's a bad idea. We'll warn you about that. We'll help give you an edge that might involve Baker Mayfield popping some zinnies. Coming up next, right here on Beat the Book on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Ryan Radke here from Westwood One. Longtime NFL head coach Ron Rivera joins me from Los Angeles as we kick off Week 8 with Thursday Night Football between the Rams and the Vikings. Minnesota is coming off their first loss of the season to the Lions, while the Rams hope to build off their win on Sunday against the Raiders. Don't miss it. Vikings at the Rams coming up on Thursday Night Football.
Right here on 1580, The Fanatic.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmett Smith on behalf of the Pen, and I've got the perfect play. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing catch, because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and one blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, the Pen is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great play.
From September 1st to November 30th, Depend is donating 40 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for Depend Shield Guards, Real Fit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $300,000 void in Mississippi.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
This is an announcement to all United States vehicle owners who own a 2003 or newer vehicle with a manufacturer's warranty about to expire, or no warranty coverage at all. With a struggling economy and the cost of living on the rise, Endurance is now offering an affordable, low-cost vehicle coverage plan to the general public. As of today, you could be one of millions of drivers that now may qualify to have your vehicle protected under this coverage and have all future covered auto repairs paid directly to the repair shop for you. You pick your plan. You pick your deductible. You even pick the repair shop. Roadside service, towing, and rental coverage is included. Get your vehicle protected now and save your wallet from costly vehicle repairs. A toll-free number has been established for you to call for your free 5-minute quote and to see if you qualify. The number to call is 800-253-0197. 800-253-0197. Again, that's 800-253-0197. Coverage, deductibles, and claims may vary. For details, go to endurancewarranty.com.
Paul's new drone startup just lost its most genius computer scientist.
We just lost our best genius to some new genius who's got a genius new idea. I'm going to have to find a new genius or two half geniuses and fast.
He needs a computer scientist that can keep his startup from falling down.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Everybody's got a podcast these days. Comedy, politics, true crime, you name it. But how many actually teach you anything useful? Harmon Solar has an entertaining podcast that is vital if you've been thinking about looking into solar, but you don't know where to start. Ralph and Ben explore the intricacies of utilities, equipment, processes, and more. Their primary objective is to educate and empower you to make informed decisions on your solar journey. So increase your knowledge, not your bills. Go check it out right now. It's the Harmon Solar Podcast at harmonsolar.com. It's fall football season, and Kasai Japanese Steakhouse is doubling down, now with 2 Valley locations. When it comes to Asian cuisine, no one does it better and more authentic than Kasai, where talented Teppan chefs create the food, the fire, and the fun of teppanyaki. Kasai Japanese Steakhouse isn't just dinner, it's dinnertainment. A memorable dining experience where a delicious 7-course meal is prepared right at your table with flair. It's a perfect choice for celebrations, date nights, or a night on the town. Choose from over 30 different items and combinations of teppanyaki, Asian fusion, and innovative sushi. Happy hour is always on fire and offered daily with specials on their Asian-inspired comfort food like Korean steak tacos, Mongolian barbecue ribs, and signature Wagyu beef sliders. Always a memorable dinner, or catch the game in a bite at the bar at Kasai. Now with 2 locations, Scottsdale Road in Thunderbird, and in Peoria at the 101 in Northern. Go to KasaiTeppan.com. That's Kasai Teppan.com, or search Kasai on your mobile phone.
Now, you can be the guy that eventually gets bits and pieces of the latest news, or you can get the whole story when it breaks. The NFL is always in season here.
That's how we do it.
Follow us on Facebook or Twitter, or at 1580thefanatic.com.
So I was just alerted by Dylan about something particularly shady going on over at the ESPN bet. At least I find it to be shady. My personal opinion on this is that ESPN's being very shady about this. The ESPN bet is putting out player props for Bronny James. Dylan, could you get into that a little bit? Because this seems ethically dubious at best.
100%. There's an article that was published today by ESPN, and it's just speaking about the kind of action that sportsbooks took on props for Bronny James back in the Tuesday season opener between the Lakers and the Timberwolves. And they are saying this is Caesars Sportsbook and FanDuel. They are saying that the prop bet on Bronny James to score a point was one of the most popular prop bets that they've ever had, like of all time. And they were getting a ton of action on both sides of the line. I'm sure they walked away with a nice profit there. And I mean, the article is pretty thorough. It goes far enough to even, quote like an actual person that did bet on this. So this is coming straight from the article. A sports bettor in Maryland said he placed a $2,500 bet on Bronny to score over 1.5 points with FanDuel at minus 135 odds. He shared a screenshot of his bet with ESPN and said it was the first NBA prop bet he had ever made. Oh my God. First off, this person, he needs to be listening to this show. We're trying to save people here. We're trying to save you from
decisions like that,
from decisions like this, from shady marketing, from narratives that are completely false, to just ultimately saving you from yourself. And we've been very adamant on this show about the fact that Bronny James is like, and just calling it how I see it, he is a Nepo baby, and he has an opportunity, with the Lakers right now, very largely due to being the son of LeBron. He is I don't want to say he's a bad basketball player, because
he is. Here are all the things that I think Bronny is that aren't necessarily insulting. I think that Bronny is undersized. I think that Bronny is a project. And I think that Bronny is incredibly raw. I also think that he needs to hit the weight room. Those 4 things are not going to cease being true by the end of this season. All of those things will continue to be a fact. So if you start, placing bets on a guy that is undersized, maybe needs to hit the weight room, maybe is a project, maybe is a little raw, that's the riskiest bet you can make.
And then combine all of that with the fact that if this guy gets any playing time, he's not going to play for more than 2 to 4 minutes, like per game at a time. He's going to get a very, very small, narrow window that JJ Redick is only going to allow happen if they're up like 15 plus points. I mean, if the Lakers are getting into competitive games, they shouldn't be putting Bronny in. If they do, then it's just justifying this entire thing that I've been saying all along, which is that the Lakers created one of the biggest distractions in the history of the NBA. A team has never had to navigate a distraction like this, probably since Donald Sterling and the Clippers. And that's a whole different context of distraction. But in this case, this is such a desired thing that people want to see, that ESPN Bet is offering a whole section of props that's called Like Father, Like Son props.
That's sketchy to me, because you have to know, if you have any basketball people in your building, and I understand that ESPN Bet isn't necessarily run by ESPN, it's more of a branding thing, but still, you have basically the power of being considered the worldwide leader in sports. That's the tag. That's what that logo means. That's what that emblem means. And you are putting your weight behind a series of bets that are essentially scamming people. There's kind of no other nice way to say that. These are scams. And ESPN has slapped their name on top of it and said, no, that's fine. We don't mind scamming customers. That's cool.
It's predatory marketing. It's predatory strategy. And I'm just going to put this out there. Like, don't ever fool yourself into thinking that taking Bronny to get even 1 point in a game is a good bet. It's not a good bet. Will it happen eventually? I'm sure it'll happen eventually.
Just in probability, yeah. I mean, they're going to play him enough times. He'll have a chance. But, like, the chance, you can't call the bet like father, like son, and then the prop is 1.5 over under. That's nothing like LeBron. Literally nothing like him.
So, I mean, just be mindful of this. And, going forward, Bronny, is he going to hang around? This is a whole other debate. There's this big narrative that, the Lakers are going to get this out of the way and then they're going to ship him off. But then you see stuff like this and you see the business interest in making sure that this is a product that's on the court that people get to see. And that's where I feel completely justified in saying this is not going away anytime soon. This will continue to be a thing. The Lakers won't be able to get this monkey off their backs. And with LeBron in general, it's going to be at his discretion of when this ends. If LeBron says, okay, let's focus on making him a good basketball player. Let's get him down to the G League. If that day comes, then this ends. But until then, businesses are feasting on this.
Yeah, and specifically sports books, which don't mind pricing things just a little bit weird if they think you'll be dumb enough to bet on it. I mean, it's just one of the things I've heard a bunch of times from people who work around Vegas. All those buildings in the desert didn't get built because they were operating on the up and up. They know where to find suckers. And if you bet on Bronny James, you're a sucker. Okay, you're a sucker. There's just no other way to say it. There's no nice way to approach this. What you are betting on is, at best, if I'm the most generous I can be to Bronny James, at best an incomplete basketball player.
I think there's potential with him, but we're just
we're
years away from it.
Yeah, if we get there, and that's the thing is, after LeBron leaves, has Bronny established himself enough to earn those opportunities? Because once there's no LeBron to say, yeah, he can play, no, he can't play, yes, he should be here, no, don't send him to the G League. Once there's no LeBron for that, Bronny's on his own. And is he a good enough basketball player at that point to stand on his own 2 feet? I don't know.
Only time will tell. But there's another storyline here. We've been teasing it. And this is one of the more exciting ones that I've been really wanting to get into here, because there may be a potential betting angle with this news that we're about to share. If you didn't happen to see this video, it's certainly making the rounds on TikTok, on Instagram, YouTube, wherever you can find a nice short reel. Baker Mayfield, back in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baltimore Ravens game, In the closing minutes of that game, the Ravens were beating the Buccaneers pretty bad. I believe this happened at a time where Mayfield must have known that he wasn't going to be coming back into the game. But there is a video circulating of Baker Mayfield sitting on the bench, and someone comes over to him and they offer him a what's clearly a open container of Zins. And if you don't know what a Zin is, it's like chewing tobacco basically, but it's in a pouch. You don't chew it.
Yeah, it's a nicotine pouch essentially.
Yep.
Yeah. So you just put that in your mouth, and there you go.
And there you go. So you know,
and we have heard other football players talk about this before. I think you showed me an interview with Josh Allen maybe a couple of weeks ago, where Josh just kind of dropped in the interview.
he talks about how much he loves a Zin. He loves the buzz, and you know it helps him in practice or wherever. You know, Dawson Knox got him into it. So there is a culture of this, but the problem is that there is a rule in that big old NFL rule book that says you cannot consume tobacco products. Well, A, during a game, let alone B, on the bench. And typically the repercussions of doing this are a 1-game suspension. Now, this is a weird circumstance because like I said before, it wasn't like, you know, halfway through the second quarter, you know, Baker's like, hey, you know, zin me up. I got to get back in. You know, it wasn't like that. It was on the heels of taking a very bad loss, on the heels of watching Chris Godwin, you know, pretty much go full exorcist with his ankle and, you know, almost have that thing snap off. He's done for the season. It was on the heels of Mike Evans potentially tearing a hamstring or severely pulling it. He's now gone. So, you know, kind of a low point for the Buccaneers and a point in the game where I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure it happened at a point where Baker knew he wasn't going to go back in.
Yeah, because from what I was reading, most players that do it, it's after workouts, it's after practice, it's after games, typically not during. So, you know, where he was at that point in the game, he must have basically said, my day's over, essentially.
And I was trying to kind of research, you know, obviously I don't think there's been any, you know, predecessor incident like this. So this is really going to be the first time. And it does seem like it's ultimately at Commissioner Roger Goodell's discretion as to what the exact punishment is. So, you know, it's weird because major media outlets aren't really covering this. I'm completely comfortable talking about it because we're not disputing whether or not it happened. It completely happened.
It definitely happened. Yeah.
So it's really just a matter of how is the NFL going to approach this? I see two different pathways for how this can go. The more likely thing that's probably going to play out is this is going to get handled behind closed doors. Roger will have a conversation with Baker. He'll let him know, probably not in these words, but something to the effect of don't do that again. And, you know, Baker will just get, you know, slap on the wrist and he'll probably be able to play. That's certainly the way that odds makers are pricing it right now. You can currently bet on Baker Mayfield props. Just because those markets are open, that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to play. That's just the sentiment.
That's as far as the sport book knows. So there's probably a good play there if you're looking for, you know, they're playing the Falcons. Even with Baker Mayfield, there's a good chance the Falcons could come out on top here because there's no Godwin, there's no Evans. You know, and the Falcons, for whatever their defense is, that run defense is actually all right. And that's what the Buccaneers want to do. So that's all they have left. So, you know, there is a way for the Falcons to win this game. And then if Baker's not there, well, you've kind of just ensured that you've got a good number on betting maybe the money line on that. By the way, finally got the text line going. Lost Toby says, bet the house, the Warriors to win it all. Got it. I don't think anybody said anything of the sort, Lost Toby.
I've got some thoughts on that.
All right. We'll get to that there in a second. Pinocchio says, dude, still trying to get the woman down here in Daytona to see that getting the TNT stream keeps getting relationships healthy. Man, this is the drunkest text I've ever seen. I'm reading it and it doesn't make any sense as I'm reading it. You want to try that one again, Pinocchio? Then he also says, well, thank you, Dylan. Lol. That first text, I need you to reattempt that. I need you to read that, decipher it, because I don't even know if you know what it says, and then try that one again, dude. I don't even know what you're trying to say there. Golden Domer says, you're exactly right. Always be wary of what they called one-sided bets. If there isn't an option both ways, you, for the most part, want to avoid it. And yeah, that's just smart business. I think he's talking about the Bronny bets there.
Yeah.
Where it's like there seems to be only an over to take and no under. That's sketchy.
I think it varies by the book. I was seeing like under 0.5 points on him, but that's paying like minus 180, minus 170. It's really not like for as strongly as I feel about him not scoring, it's just a market I would avoid altogether. But going back to this whole Baker thing, door number 2 in terms of what's going to happen here is that the NFL may actually decide to like stick to the rule book and say, no, they caught you. You're on video. You should have had better awareness. Baker, you are not playing this Sunday. And if that is the case, like Keon was just saying, I mean, the line on this game is 2.5. If you're someone that, like me, thinks that maybe there is a chance Baker doesn't be allowed to play, I mean, you can look to take an alternate spread on this Falcons and Buccaneers game. If you think the Falcons might be able to come on top by double digits, I mean, you can snag almost 3-1 odds on that right now. So,
and there is a way to do that. Like one of the things that had the Buccaneers in these games, because their secondary is just not great, is red zone defense is really good, and Baker can help you win a shootout. Like if you're going back and forth, Baker's absolutely qualified to just continue throwing the football, and he'll make his mistakes. He is Baker Mayfield, but he'll also get you some big explosive plays. He'll probably also find the end zone a decent amount of times. So like, I just think that with Baker, this offense has enough in it to score most times. But when you take those weapons away, Baker is not.
And then it's potentially Kyle Trask out there.
Yeah. Like that's, first off, that's a disaster. I mean, I don't think the Buccaneers actually wanted to see Kyle Trask. It's kind of like the Dolphins and Snoop Huntley. Like, it feels like he was just on the roster. Like, I don't think they ever intended to actually have him play. And then when he had to play, you just go, oh God, I don't know. What are we supposed to do? Like, that's what it feels like with Kyle Trask being back there. It's like, you just pray to God that Baker can just play all those games. And well, he might be suspended for one of those games.
So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see how that plays out. But with the way that injury reporting and even honestly suspensions, just general absences, the way that they're being reported it just feels sketchy. And there's already been instances of reporting coming out saying that someone's playing and then they're not, and then there's reporting saying that someone's not playing and they are. So I mean, it's just a big tangled mess.
Yeah.
But definitely,
and then like the injury report is kind of what you have to trust, or like any official report, because when you start getting to some of these journalists, maybe not so much Schefter, but like, well, no, probably Schefter too. Like a lot of these guys that we respect very heavily, they're talking pieces for the team. They're mouthpieces for the team. They just say what the team wants you to hear. So if the team wants to be sketchy about putting an injury out there, they will. There's nothing against it. You can lie to Adam Schefter. You just can't lie to the NFL. There's no investigation for if you lie to Schefter. And Schefter will just turn around and say exactly what you said. Pinocchio says, Keon, reread. Pretty clean to me. I'm not saying your text was dirty. I'm saying I do not understand. There needs to be some punctuation in there. That is one run-on sentence, man. What am I supposed to be? So I'm going to try to read this again. He says, dude, see, no, you spaced it out so that it actually, and you added punctuation. He says, dude, still trying to get the woman down here in Daytona to see that getting the TNT stream keeps relationships healthy. What did that wall they're talking about look like when the Suns were missing free throws? It
looked like a college student section. So
yeah.
like they were coordinating outfits and they were giving like the people in this section props. So, and I mean, look, there's only so much you can do to distract someone that's at the free throw line, but I would say that the Clippers have elevated that dynamic to like a new unseen level that the league just like has never worked with before.
Yeah. I mean, the only place I can think of that feels like that is Oklahoma City. And that's just because those fans are just like that. That's not even a design choice of the building. That's just what those people are like. Pinocchio, thanks for adding about 6 extra commas. Like I needed it. I needed it. Okay. Like I do. I got to figure out where the break in that sentence is. All right. We're right up against the break. We've got some picks for you tonight. Obviously a lot of basketball, but we've worked some of the Thursday night football in there too. We'll talk about that on the other side. You're listening to Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Championship weekend is coming back to the desert. 4 title races in 3 days means there will be a buzz in the air all weekend long. NASCAR Championship Weekend at Phoenix Raceway, November 8th through the 10th. Get your tickets now at phoenixraceway.com.
It's fall football on The Fanatic. Catch all the live game play-by-play, Monday night, Thursday night, and Sunday day and night NFL games, plus the Saturday NCAA football game of the week. It's all right here on the Valley's home for football. 1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.
Progressive knows finding your new home was a dream come true. You wanted a Colonial with high ceilings, hardwood floors, and a peaceful neighborhood. And you found it. Now, every Saturday at 6 a.m., you get to wake to the sound of your neighbor's leaf blower. Progressive can't save you from your noisy neighbors, but we can save you money when you bundle your home and auto with us. Get a quote at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
This is an announcement to all United States vehicle owners who own a 2003 or newer vehicle with a manufacturer's warranty about to expire, or no warranty coverage at all. With a struggling economy and the cost of living on the rise, Endurance is now offering an affordable, low-cost vehicle coverage plan to the general public. As of today, you could be one of millions of drivers that now may qualify to have your vehicle protected under this coverage and have all future covered auto repairs paid directly to the repair shop for you. You pick your plan. You pick your deductible. You even pick the repair shop. Roadside service, towing, and rental coverage is included. Get your vehicle protected now and save your wallet from costly vehicle repairs. A toll-free number has been established for you to call for your free 5-minute quote and to see if you qualify. The number to call is 800-253-0197. 800-253-0197. Again, that's 800-253-0197. Coverage, deductibles, and claims may vary. For details, go to endurancewarranty.com.
My name is Mary Grace. There are a few misconceptions about Alzheimer's. It's not just memory loss. It's the loss of mobility, the risk of falling.
For more information, contact the Alzheimer's Association at alz.org. Sponsored by the Alzheimer's Association.
This is Brent Musburger. Don't miss Betting Across America, Saturdays at 11 a.m. right here on Arizona Sports Betting Station, 1580 and 99.3. The Fanatic.
So on the text line, CK, good afternoon, fellas. Playing your 6-point play. The Aaron Gordon 6+ rebound pick had too much juice, so I parlayed that with Joker to score 20+ for the plus 100 figure. Big Jake also says, last night sucked. Glad we won, but my bets went up in smoke. Overtime killed the easy under, the 224.5. All the missed free throws killed the -5 spread. And Nert came up 1 point and rebound from the plus 29.54 leg parlay.
Oh.
Big Jake, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that, man. Yeah, and CK, I like that parlay. You know, when you're going 2 legs for even money, I mean, those are safe props to work with. Jokic, barring some kind of an injury or if he, has foul trouble, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be able to get 20 points tonight. Especially with the Thunder missing Isaiah Hartenstein. Primary defender on him is going to be Chet Holmgren. So should be a relatively decent matchup for Jokic to be able to get some good scoring in.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll see how Chet's improved, obviously. But like last year, Jokic versus Chet was all Jokic as far as the matchup.
Chet's
went.
still a twig as far as I'm concerned.
He's big for him, but he's not big,
right?
If that makes any sense.
So, we've got this little Thursday night football game going on, and you can catch the broadcast for that game here on 1580 The Fanatic. That'll be coming up after the Daily Blender, which comes on right after this show. And Keon, I know that there's like a whole thing about teams that go on the road on like a short schedule, they don't tend to fare very well in Thursday night football. But, I'm looking at this line. Vikings are 2.5-point favorites coming off their first loss of the season, which was a very close loss, may I add, in a divisional game at home. So now they're taking on the worst team in the NFC West, in the Los Angeles Rams. And this is a team that has just had their season really not go their way at all. And it's gone so poorly that, there's pretty prominent news now of Cooper Kupp potentially being shopped. I mean, there's rumors of the Vikings potentially wanting to trade for Matthew Stafford. So I just want to kind of take a step back, and I'm just trying to understand, how are the Vikings only 2.5-point favorites? Like shouldn't that spread be a lot more to you?
Yeah, I think a lot of it just kind of has to do with the fact that the Rams have been a little bit surprising. The 2.5 is pretty weird. Like, I think that you can safely say the Vikings are the much better football team here. But I do think that, when you look at what the Rams have done this year, they're a respectable offense. Like, they put points on the board. They move the football really well. Their time of possession for a team that just genuinely kind of stinks is not bad. So when you look at like some of the games that they've been in, they've had games where they've been beaten down, but for the most part, they put up like the necessary amount of points. This to me is still a bad spread. Like, I'm trying to give you like whatever the reasoning might be. And obviously, like, the other thing with it too is like, regardless of how bad things look over the course of an NFL season, when you get to the end, the average of almost every NFL game is like 3 points. So stuff like that is probably what's factored in here. But and also the LA Rams being the home team, like that also plays a factor, because it's possible if this game's played in Minnesota that Minnesota's a 6-point favorite or a 7-point favorite.
Well, if you happen to check out the Beat the Book website, you'll see that there are 10 additional bets for today's games. Some of it is NBA, some of it is for this Thursday night football game. You can get there by following me on Instagram. The account is at Beat the Book Fanatic, all spelled out. Just click the link in the bio and you'll be taken to that Beat the Book website. You can get there through the 1580thefanatic.com website. Just click on the Beat the Book with Dylan Cohen logo. And if you check out the post from today, there are links for the 6-Point Play podcast. So that's where you got to go if you want the highest value, highest paying NBA bets. But for everything else, you'll see the picks there. My very first one was Minnesota Vikings on the money line. Keon, who do you have winning this game?
Yeah, I'm taking the Vikings. I just think that they're just a much better football team. Like I said, the Rams have some things about them that's pretty respectable. They're a 13th ranked passing offense. Like, they certainly can move the ball through the air. And we've seen that this Vikings defense is a very bend, don't break. They're very susceptible to big yards, not so much the points. So I think this Rams team will have some success moving the football against the Vikings through the air. I just don't know that it gets them in the end zone to win the game. So I like the Vikings to win the game just straight up.
And I mean, Vikings on the money line right now, -146. I saw more value in taking the money line, and it's only because if you were going to take the spread, I wouldn't take the spread at 2.5. I'd look to try and bump that up to get a bigger payout, but you would really need to push it to like double digits to really start getting a better payout on the odds. That's where if you want to take them at -9.5, you're getting about 2.5 to 1 payout with how that's currently priced. So I'm cool with just taking Vikings money line there. There's a number of other player props that I posted on that Beat the Book site. But Keon, we were just talking about how there's a lot of shadiness in reporting right now. And there happened to be some injury reporting that came out during this show that we talked about a little bit on the break. But NFL Network's Tom Pellisario is reporting that Puka Nacua is expected to play tonight after returning from injury reserve. And there's these quotes that are there that's, hey, they won't decide until pregame warmups how much he can play, but the plan is to play him. Is this fake news? Is this deception? Because I shouted it out. I'm trying to remember the exact player it was for. Schefter had a post about, it was James Cook. James Cook playing in the Bills game. And then right before game time, they go, Oh, sorry, he's not playing.
And yeah, and if you followed the practices and you followed the injury report, every indication was he was not playing. Schefter reported that he was playing. And like I said, that's not against the rules to tell a reporter anonymously, hey, no, we think he's playing, because Schefter's just going to say whatever it is the team wants because he just wants the scoop. He just wants the immediate, you get all of the social media attention for, I got the story out there first. And sometimes the story's just not accurate because the team's not being completely honest. And I feel like that's another thing tonight. Like, it doesn't feel like the Rams are being 100% honest here. They just activated Puka Nacua yesterday just for practices, not to play, just for general practices. Do they think that guy's 100%? I don't know.
FanDuel happened to generate a line for Puka. So this is like new. This is like within the last 30 minutes, over under 28.5 receiving yards. Again, this does not mean he's going to play. You could put bets on this and they'll just get voided out because right before game time, they'll just go up, scratch.
Yeah. I think that's a very unwise play. That's where I would leave that. On the text line really quickly, Fat Flipper says Jokic versus anybody is a mismatch. And Rye Guy says, you call that dude Pinocchio. Now that's what I call some funny creative bleep. I'm stealing that for sure. Except Rye Guy, his texter nickname is literally Pinocchio. I just enjoy the football. It's coming up after the blender after this show. This is Beat the Book on 1580 The Fanatic.
I'm Bridget Condon with